Does your teenager think they're responsible enough for a checking account? What about a credit or debit card? Here now to discuss how to help your teenager get a smart start to money management is Lewis Smith from BayPort Credit Union. Lewis, thanks for joining us. Lewis speaks from personal and professional experiences, and I remember being a teen and wanting that checking account, wanting that credit card, and I don't know that I want them so much anymore. I wish I knew how to manage it better.
Yeah.
But you want teens, you have tips on how they can get that smart start.
Right. My wife and I have had the joy of having 3 kids, and our youngest is now a senior in high school, so we've had the ability to kind of go through this. And everybody has different opinions, but our experience and what we've enjoyed is being able to get them started with a checking account when they are a teenager. If you think about it, it's perfect because they're still in your household. You can still have those conversations. And I like it, too, because it's a win-win. The child usually wants a checking account because with it becomes financial freedom, and then we as parents benefit from it too. Because if you think about it, look, when your child starts driving or when they get that first job, they need a place to put the money. You can start teaching them about it. And when they drive, you can say, now that you have a debit card, you can fill up the pump yourself. We can reimburse it if we want, or you can choose to let them take care of that responsibility on their own. And then with a checking account also, you're not having to carry cash. I'm not having to worry as an adult about making sure I got enough cash. Hey, Dad, give me some money. They can go to the ATM and get their own cash when they need it. The other part I really like is that both as an adult and as a child, what it allows you to do is see when you want, not that you have to be budgeting and looking at it all the time, but you can look back at it. It gives you a transaction history of where did my money go. So when all of a sudden I realize I don't have any money, well, why is that? Let's take a look. And you can go look right online and see where the money went.
Yes, so, you certainly see how fast your money goes and where it's going. Now, you talked about checking account being a good idea, and you can get a debit card. Now, what about credit cards?
Credit cards, to me, is another. That's kind of the next step that if you want to do it. And we did that really as our kids were kind of headed towards college. But if you, again, think about it, what we want to teach our kids is to use a credit card responsibly so that it's a line of credit that's available to make a bigger purchase. Maybe you need to move some money from your savings account over to your checking account in order to pay that bill later, but I can go ahead and make the transaction now. Or when our kids are in college and we say, yeah, go ahead and get those books on the credit card, we'll reimburse you later for it. But the key is they're learning while they're still at home or just as they're heading off to college, they've already had that experience of knowing that I need to pay it off every month, because if I don't, I'm going to get maybe charged with a late charge, and we have that conversation, or I'm going to wind up having to pay interest. And you can share with them the scenario of how long it would take to pay for that $50 meal if you make the minimum payment, those kind of things. So it's a great teaching experience.
It is a great teaching experience, but like you said, it's something that you have to use to get the conversation going and communicate so that they really understand how these things work. It's not like you're just running a piece of plastic to this unlimited supply of money.
No, and by doing it early, I mean, eventually, like we were talking about, you're going to have a checking account. You're going to have credit cards. So you need to learn how to use them. And it's like everything else that we teach our kids. Why not let them learn while they're at home, make mistakes on a small scale? One of the things with a checking account, people worry about, oh, I'm going to have an overdraft, and I can't stand that. It's expensive, and depending on your financial institution, it can be very expensive when you have an overdraft, as well as the problems with the merchant. But there's 3 different ways, kind of guardrails, just like you set up when you're driving. You don't want
What are some of those guardrails we need to be aware of?
Right. So one guardrail would be just to monitor your account. You can go online and look at it through your computer. You can use your mobile phone and use the mobile app. Or my daughter Mara says, Dad, if you ever take away text banking, I'm going to leave your credit union. So she just likes to text BAL, and she can find out her balance instantly and where she's at. But the foolproof method to me is to go ahead and set up a line of credit, just a small line of credit with your kids. You're going to have to be co-signing on it. You're taking responsibility for that and the checking account as you work with your child who's under 18. But if you set it up free of charge, you can set it up so that if you had an overdraft and you went negative, it would take the money out of that line of credit. Now, I set up a text alert, which text alerts, I don't even have to pay attention. I'm going to get a text alert that tells me, your line of credit balance is greater than 0, Lewis. That to me means, oh, we had a overdraft of sorts. I go ahead and pay that off, either no interest or pennies of interest rather than an overdraft. So it's a safe way to make sure that they can experience the checking account without really worrying about that overdraft horror that can occur.
Right, so turn it into an educational experience and get them to start building credit. For more information, stop by any of the BayPort Credit Union locations across Hampton Roads. You can also log on to bayportcu.org. As always, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.